All right, welcome back to another episode of Beer, Bacon, and Bros. Back tonight, we got a full cast. We got Keith, we got Chris, we got Alex, and we got Adam. We're going to give you our NFL draft reactions, kind of recap how our predictions went, and as always, break things down for you for our favorite teams as well. So make sure you hit that subscribe button for us, and don't leave us like Will Levis' girlfriend after we drop it the second round. Make sure you like the videos as always, and feel free to hit us in the comments. You know I'll get back with you. So, We'll hit the Will Levis note on the head while we're at it. Anybody just astonished that this happened?
And I was kind of surprised that he fell to the second round. I really thought that he was going to go to the Colts.
I thought we had the chance to see him and Hendon Hooker go in the first round.
Yeah.
Honestly. I thought we had the chance to see 5 quarterbacks go.
If it wasn't, Hendon would have been a stretch in the first round, I think.
Yeah.
Hendon definitely would have been a stretch, but it wouldn't have been like an oh my god type of thing.
Yeah. But to see Will drop into the second was a surprise. When I definitely thought there was teams out there that needed a quarterback, but decided to go a different direction.
Yeah.
And so, I thought it was kind of surprising to see him drop all the way to day 2.
Yeah, I think for me, I was certainly surprised by it. By the time we got past, we'll say pick 13, I had a really good feeling. I was like, oh yeah, he's not getting.
He's gonna fall out unless somebody trades up to get him. He's gonna fall out.
Yeah, and I think the only team for me that I thought would or should have been more interested in Will Levis, besides the Titans that obviously got him, was the Raiders. Mm-hmm. Like they're sitting on Jimmy Garoppolo. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like Jimmy Garoppolo is still not your future, right? If you felt good about Will Levis and somebody that could come in and sit in a year, that's the guy for you. But I mean, Raiders just clearly didn't seem interested in a quarterback that bad. So
I guess not. Yeah.
I mean, unless they're banking to get a quarterback in next year's class. I mean, I kind of felt like their pick of Tyree Wilson was. I mean, he's a good player, but I think they could have done something better with the pick with where they were at 7. I mean, they definitely could have done something better. Michael Mayer in the second round for them was a huge pick.
I thought it was a steal for them.
It was a steal for him to be in the second round like that, especially since old Dallas down there passed up on 3 or 4 tight ends.
We'll get to that when it's my team's turn.
Yeah.
But actually, what I feel is like one of the biggest shocks of this draft was how well Philly drafted.
Oh yeah.
And what they did and how they got some of these players to go out and get Jalen Carter. Nolan Smith and get Keely Ringo in the 4th round.
Yeah,
who was a projected day 1 or 2 pick.
And they got the tight end Washington from Georgia too.
Yeah, that was Pittsburgh.
That's Pittsburgh.
Oh,
we drafted Darnell.
That's right.
Yeah, the big dude.
Yeah, either way, I just felt like if anybody who's on the Georgia's defense is now just in Philly.
Yeah.
Oh. DeAndre Swift was the offensive player that they got.
Yeah, they traded
for DeAndre Swift.
That's right. That's who it was.
Yeah.
Which kind of, after day 1, after the first round, Detroit's draft grade was so low, but then they ended up trading DeAndre Swift, so it made sense why they drafted a running back in the first round. Yeah. And all of a sudden you saw that grade change again. Because it was one of those when they first took their running back in the first round.
Yeah.
Everybody was like,
why'd you do
what the hell? Obviously, DeAndre Swift, they don't have faith in. Why didn't you all blah? Well, then they didn't go and trade DeAndre. So it's one of those things they obviously had in the books. They had this cookie on the back burner for a long time.
I think they certainly had Gibbs circled and wanted to get him, knowing that they could trade Swift, but they obviously couldn't trade Swift without getting Gibbs and
you can tell Gibbs was their guy because they showed the war room reaction and they were like flipping tables, coming from the top rafter.
I know, yeah,
they were
acting like they won
so insane that it was almost like they thought Jamar Gibbs was going to go first overall and then he fell to 12th.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and I'll say this personally, and I said this to both y'all when we were watching this. Jamar Gibbs, to me, is either an Austin Eckler or he's a Nyheim Hines. He's going to be one of those two guys.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's
going to be off the charts or he's going to be just
pass catching back. Yeah. So, and obviously Detroit thinks he's Austin Eckler. So,
you'd hope.
Were you surprised to see 2 running backs go in the top 15?
I was astonished. I would have bet to kiss one of your toes that a running back wouldn't have gone in the top 10 picks.
And then Bijan goes 8th to Atlanta. When Atlanta needs so much and they got to get a running back?
That's just Atlanta, man. whatever. Like,
But it was
you,
it was so on course though. Green Bay did take a defensive player.
Yeah, I know. I mean, just not even astonished there either. I was impressed by the way Green Bay followed that up with a lot of skilled players.
Well, hell, the Jets took a defensive player in the first round too.
I felt like the Jets pick
It was almost kind of like the Aaron Rodgers curse. Like,
Well, no, I'm not sure if it was like an Aaron Rodgers curse, but I felt like they were trying to trade that pick, and they waited to the absolute last possible moment, and nobody was calling to get that pick.
Yeah.
So they just kind of like
Panic pick.
panic pick. Not saying that the linebacker they took isn't like a good linebacker,
Well,
but it felt like a really panicky move. Like, what do I do here? They could have gone any other way, and they just went with a tall.
Was that the Will?
Will McDonald.
Yeah,
and he's a pass rusher.
out of
I mean,
Iowa
that's the thing
State.
is he's like he's more of a Von Miller-esque, which doesn't really fit the 4-3 that they've been running. So it doesn't.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. It
It's
felt
like-
like an oh shit. What do I do here? Let's just pick somebody.
Yeah, but I think they recovered really well. Joe Tippmann, which we talked about when we were talking about Pittsburgh, best center in the draft. They went and got the running back from Pitt, which I thought was an absolutely fantastic pick. This dude's a bell cow, a 20-carry guy.
they also got his tackle.
Yeah, and they got Pitt's offensive tackle in the 4th round
Yeah.
as well. So I felt like they really recovered well after that pick, but I'm with
Right.
you. It was like
It's like, what do I do here? Type of.
it was like they took the guy that everybody was like, hey, this is kind of a risky prospect, but could turn out to be the next Von Miller, and they just took a chance on it. So
Right.
But-
It just because they literally took like 9 out of their 10 minutes to make that pick. So I felt like they were honestly trying to just
get rid of
Wheel
it.
it.
trade that pick away, do something, and nobody came calling.
They kind of just took the
at,
best.
at 15, nobody really wanted anything at 15 that they were willing to give up.
They were like,
capital
well,
for.
we'll just take the best linebacker.
Right, yeah.
Well,
So I mean,
yeah.
it was just like a panic, like, oh shit, what do I do here? And they just picked a random person.
Yeah.
So-
All right, so we'll get back on track a little bit. Give me your best and worst.
Best.
Who had the best draft? Who had the worst draft?
I feel like Philly probably had one of the better drafts. Just what they were able to accomplish and the talent they got. I mean, worst. I mean, I don't think Tampa really did anything to really help them out. Washington didn't really do much. Like, I mean, hell, Washington is projected to take Drake May next year. They took Sam Howell 2 years ago. They're going to take Drake May next year. So I don't think they really did much to help themselves in this draft either.
Yeah, I think Washington. I think my reaction from Washington was all defense, right? I mean, you look at their draft and immediately secondary with the first 2 rounds. So,
Well, I mean,
they took KJ Henry from Clemson, which seems like a little bit of a risk, but
their front seven is going to be the backbone of that defense. So it's going to be can their front seven stand up? But who was the big acquisition they got for wide receiver over the offseason? Did they get a big wide receiver? Didn't they get somebody to go with Scary Terry?
I don't think so.
Well, then they should have gone for they should have gone for.
Yeah,
a wide
we
receiver.
were actually projecting them to get Jordan Addison. That's why we're talking about the Scary Terry possibility with them. But I mean, I agree with you. Tampa didn't impress me by any means as well. I think for me, the worst one for me was actually Denver. When you look at Denver and you think of all the things they might have needed on defense, offensive line to help protect Russell Wilson, and they go wide receiver. Like they don't have enough
It wouldn't
freaking wide
even be a good
receivers.
wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, you have freaking you have Jerry Jeudy, you have Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, C.J. Flowers, the other wide receiver that they drafted last year that was kind of an up-and-coming rookie. And so your answer is go wide receiver. Now the Drew Sanders
Drew
pick,
Sanders is a great pick.
I really love that
Great
pick, but it
Him
just
and Bumper Pool out of Arkansas were 2 phenomenal linebackers.
absolutely. But the rest of the defense is just kind of like you took Riley Moss, who's going to end up playing safety more than anything because he's not going to convert to corner in the NFL. So I just thought Denver kind of flopped it. But I was actually really impressed with Detroit. I think Detroit took a different angle to it, but they filled some
Jack
needs.
Campbell's a good pick too.
Jack Campbell was a great run-stopping linebacker because they could not stop the run.
Getting Brian Branch in the 4th round was a fantastic pick.
A plug-and-play starter. He was in the 2nd round.
Oh, second. I thought he fell a little further, but I mean, he's still an excellent pick.
He's a plug-and-play safety, and then getting Sam Laporta. I mean, at this point, why not take a tight end out of Iowa? Like all of the good ones are from Iowa. So, especially when you trade away T.J. Hawkins, and so now you have an actual plug-and-play tight end for you. So I was, again, relatively impressed, and then went and got Hendon Hooker, somebody they felt really good about in the 3rd round. That,
Yeah, I mean,
obviously
sit
gets
behind
years.
Goff for a year or two, and let him come up in that system.
And
see
taking
what he
him
does.
as, I mean, hell, it's actually their 5th pick of the draft, but they're only one in the 3rd round, or
Yeah.
the first of the 2 in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
I mean, taking Hendon Hooker there, it's nothing but upside.
Right.
If, like I say, he just
They
shits
don't
the
have to-
bed,
yeah.
like, oh, he was a 3rd round pick who
Yeah.
Who cares?
And you don't owe
They don't have the,
you don't
yeah,
owe
there's no
another-
money involved in that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
you know.
there's obviously there's money, but there's not first round money involved in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
So
mean,
it's
I'm more
it's
shocked
plus
though,
plus for both
like we were
sides.
looping back to earlier. Will Levis falling out the first round. I'm more shocked Hendon fell to the third round. I figured he would have at least been a second rounder.
I
I
thought
think
he
people are
would've
still
stuck
afraid
in
of the
his
knee.
Yeah.
I think people are still
Well,
afraid of the knee.
I think there's people that are afraid of the knee plus age, right? You're talking about a 25-year-old guy who's not going to get to play this year. You're going to, at the best, you're going to get him when he's 26. That's if he's ready to be a starter at 26. So
Brandon Whedon got drafted at 29.
I know. I mean, that's Cleveland. I mean, like you're starting to talk about a Geno Smith kind of thing, right? Like all of a sudden he's 32 and he's really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the difference is Geno Smith's been in the league for 12 years.
True. So
I'm going to say that I think Detroit had a really good draft. Just the pure fact of how many picks they got. I mean, hell, getting 4 in the first 2 rounds is phenomenal. And like I hit on earlier, taking Jamar Gibbs was a mind fuck until it wasn't.
yeah.
Because obviously we
Right,
couldn't see the
once
full,
it actually came
full
around full
picture.
circle, yeah.
Once it came around full circle, like Keith said, it made plenty of sense of what they did and how they went about it. And I mean, if you look, I mean, the only position they repeat in the draft is a tackle. They took 2 tackles.
Can't
Late
go wrong there.
3rd and 4th round, you can't go wrong there. And like I said, those picks at that late are just nothing but upside if they pan out. But just being able to go out and draft 8 players.
Yeah.
Is just, I think that's going to be so crucial, especially for
Well,
a team that's trying to
six
continue to build up.
6 in the first 105 picks.
Yeah, 6
So-
in the first 105 picks.
That was.
I mean, you could be like Cleveland, who didn't get their first pick until what 79
yeah, I
because of
know.
the Deshaun Watson trades and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And they got. Well, I mean, they got.
And
Cedric
Cleveland
Tillman.
actually got 2 people that they're going to be able to plug and play immediately with Cedric Tillman, who is going to help them at wide receiver, and then Siaka, which is going to be basically just a bowling ball. I mean, it's just a put him in the
Put him
middle.
right in the front and let
and
somebody try to
nobody,
run through.
and nobody can freaking block him. So he's literally just.
Dewan Jones in the 4th round was a great pick for them too.
Yeah, it's a guy with a lot of upside, 6'8", 374 on the
I mean,
offensive tackle from Ohio
that's a
State.
huge,
So,
that's a huge pick for them in the 4th round.
and it's a little bit of a homer pick, right? Staying in Cleveland, so.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't really have a team that I think did bad. I didn't really look too much into that. I'm like, which teams I think really just
Well, I think
shit the bed.
I think Keith actually hit it really well. I think another team that I thought was a sleeper for not doing really well was San Fran. I mean, they didn't have a pick till the 3rd round, but you also look at, I mean, they took a safety that's probably not going to play from them. They took a freaking kicker in the 3rd round.
That's just insane.
I know.
The thing about
They took a big risk on a tight end in Cameron Latu. Now, granted, he played at Alabama, got some upside. We've seen some decent, O.J. Howard and I was going to say O.J. Simpson.
No, J.J. Howard, yeah.
O.J. Howard, and I can't remember
Irv Smith.
Irv Smith. 2 tight ends that are in the league, but still not somebody that really showed. So I mean, they really just didn't take a lot of needs for them.
Yeah, they didn't do much to improve themselves either.
Yeah.
But again,
Like
we,
Dallas down there not taking a tight end in the first 2 rounds.
they got one in the second round.
They got one second round.
Okay.
yeah, there they took the guy before Mayer. Wasn't that Dallas?
No,
Pretty sure
Mayo
it was Dallas.
Mayo was gone. Before.
Mayer was the 4th pick of the second round.
Yeah, Kincaid went first to
Somebody out there. I think there was multiple times drafted before Mayer.
There
which
was-
made
there were at
no
least
sense.
2 or 3.
There was 2.
Yeah.
The Oregon State guy.
Yeah, it made no
Or
sense.
Luke. Go ahead.
So I agree. Detroit did really well. Eagles did really well. Washington was, I think, bottom 3 in the draft. But a team that I thought was really surprising to me and was really aggressive with what they did, Texans.
Yeah, Houston was very
I
aggressive.
think- I think they
2 of
will.
the first 3 picks.
Yeah, they were real aggressive with.
That shit better pan out though, my God.
Well, but I mean,
I think you did. You took 2 really
top
good-
5 players in this draft.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
You probably took the best athlete in the draft in Will Anderson, and you took
arguably one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft.
no
Or
arguably
top 2.
yeah arguably 1A 1B in quarterback depending on what you're looking for.
Yeah, because I know
I mean, he was on par with Anthony Richardson's level.
No.
So, I mean,
Bryce Young and CJ.
No, Anthony Richardson is the best quarterback available. That's all I've heard all day. He was the best quarterback. He was the best quarterback drafted. That's all I've heard all day.
Yeah.
Every analyst out there is from some reason now that the draft's over, it said Anthony Richardson was the best pickup as a draft for quarterback position.
Sure, whatever you want to say.
I think Bryce Young is the safest, most reliable quarterback pick there was.
Oh, for sure.
I think C.J. Stroud would have been the next best option. But anyway, like I said, I think the Texans did really well. You went and got key pieces on both sides of the ball here, and both really good players.
Yeah, your franchise quarterback and your franchise defensive player.
Correct. You know, so and you got them all. Yeah, you got them rookie deals.
In the first 3 picks of the
So,
draft.
good job to them. But yeah, to speak as a fan of Dallas, if we're gonna go tight end in the second round, why not get Michael Mayer in the first, and then the defensive tackle that we're looking. Granted, it might not have been Mozzie Smith, but get that defensive tackle run stopper that you're looking for in the second round versus the first round. You know, personally, I would have liked to see those picks swap. I would have much rather seen Michael Mayer as our first round guy, personally. But the defensive tackle position is where we need help. We have a couple guys that are decent in the D tackle spot, but I felt like after last year, it was like 3 or 4 guys kept rotating in and out. So if he's a guy that we can plug in first and second down and leave him in there, just like every drive, first and second down, Mozzie Smith, it's yours. And takes 2 guys to block me because I'm 360 or however big he is.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a large dude.
He's
So-
334, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
323. 6'3",
So-
323.
big dude in the middle. So I'm not mad at it, but I would have liked to see those picks reversed.
Well, but and to be honest, Schoonamaker's not that bad of a tight end pickup. I mean, he wasn't a bad tight end.
No, he's not. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I mean,
He's
so,
not
I mean it's still a good pick at the tight end position.
I think he was probably
But you could've
top 5 tight end.
Yeah.
He was top 4. He was top
Yeah.
4,
Yeah, but you could have arguably got the best tight end in the draft.
Yeah.
I think
So-
the difference there is you went with a guy that's going to be a pass catcher, not a guy that's going to be a complete tight end, right? Like,
Correct.
You're right in what you were saying when we were talking that day of Michael Mayer is more of a George Kittle. He's a guy that can really block with a hard nose, and he can also catch the ball, run good routes. Luke is more of a T.J. Hawkinson is what I compare him to.
Yeah.
He's really very much
He's going to go out and just go for the catch.
and he's not somebody like a Travis Kelce that can go play in the slot, but it is that kind of position. I
I
think
think
it's
the
interesting.
longtime Dallas tight end that retired recently.
Jason Witten.
Jason Witten. That's all they talk about Mayer.
Yeah.
When Dallas came on the clock, they just compared him to Jason Witten for so long.
Yeah.
Because comparably, he is very much almost like a
Jason
1-for-1 remake of Jason
Yeah.
Witten.
He is.
And I would
And
have
then,
been
and then all of a sudden,
Dallas
Dallas' pick came in, and Mel Kiper and the whole panel was like, they're getting Mayer, they're getting their tight end in the future. Then Mozzie Smith just starts to walk across the stage. It was like, what the hell?
What the hell just happened?
I was listening to I can't even remember who was doing the video, but Adam, I think you'll be interested by this, and y'all give y'all's opinion on it. When you look at Dallas's draft from the first 3 picks, take the tight end out of it. What do you see? You see a run-stopping defensive tackle, a run-stopping middle linebacker.
Well,
This is almost now Dallas saying we're going to put these 2 guys in the middle every single play to stop the run, and now we're going to move Michael Parsons outside, and he is going to be an elite pass rusher every single down. He doesn't have to play in the middle anymore to even try and help stop the run.
Yeah. So I'm
It helps
okay
in the
with
long term.
well, not only that, because as much as I don't like to compare him to this person, Van Der Esch is so much like Sean Lee.
Yeah.
Every other week, I feel
They're
like
hurt.
They're hurt.
Oh, yeah.
It's a
So
concussion
the-
every other day.
So and Van Der Esch is a really good middle linebacker. He
Yeah.
really is. But it's
When he's
like
healthy.
every 3 weeks he's hurt with something. So to put was it Overshaw? What's it? How do you say his last name? Kid from Texas.
Yeah.
Overshown.
Overshown.
Yeah. So if he can complement Van Der Esch in the middle, and then like you're saying, leave Parsons either as an outside edge rusher, linebacker, hybrid, DN, whatever you want to call his position. I think that's where we're heading. But like I said, I would have personally have seen us get a tight end to replace Dalton Schultz in the first round.
Yeah.
But
Well, let's talk a little bit about Pittsburgh, because I know you're pretty excited about it.
Pittsburgh had a great draft.
I think Pittsburgh did really well.
And you
It
got
was
your boy in the
It
second
was
round.
shocking to see Pittsburgh trade up, because I can't tell the last time I remember Pittsburgh trading in the first round whatsoever. But then the story sort of came out that there have been talks about the Jets going after a tackle.
Yeah.
And the pick right before Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh was like, hey, let's cut in front of these assholes. Let's get our
Yeah,
tackle and
Go
go
get their guy or
go
get
and
those guy.
we got our guy now. We're going to get Broderick Jones, who's just a behemoth out there playing for Georgia.
Big old boy
Um,
too.
Me and Chris talked about it. The only little sketchy part is he didn't play too much for Georgia.
Yeah.
It was really his senior year was his full year.
No,
It's
it's
now
his
coming
sophomore year.
sophomore year.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
he's a redshirt sophomore. He only
Okay.
started one season.
Well, I say senior year just because
his last year.
his
last
last
year
year. Just
Yeah.
that's how I came across it.
Yeah.
But getting Broderick Jones, I think that was a great pick. I was happy taking offense. The only offensive position I was accepting in the first round as a fan was a lineman, and specifically a tackle, like we went out and got.
Yeah.
Any other offensive position, just not a need. We've
Yeah.
got from running back to fullback to receiver to quarterback. We've got those positions. We've got our people. We needed a lineman. Was really hoping for defense, but Pittsburgh doing Pittsburgh things. Me and Chris always joke about that second pick Pittsburgh always has. Just they'll sit around and their guy will somehow magically fall to them.
Joey
To where we
Porter
get Joey
right to
Porter
him.
Jr. in the first pick of the second round. Fell right to us. I'm pretty sure it's one of those things where when day one ended, I wouldn't be surprised if it came out that Tomlin called Joey Porter Sr.,
Yeah.
a former alumni of Pittsburgh, and said, hey, we're taking your boy first pick tomorrow. Don't worry about it.
Have a good night.
Yeah, have a good
Sleep
night.
easy.
Yeah,
Hey, just-
yeah. I know you're going home today empty-handed. Tomorrow you're gonna be the first one off the board.
Don't worry about
Don't
it.
worry about it. But then it came out again that there was a shit ton of calls to Pittsburgh
To try
wanting
and
to try
trade.
to trade the first pick of the second round. Because I mean, granted, pick 32 was just a really clutch pick to have, especially if you had.
I
one
think
of
there
those-
was still a lot of good talent.
Oh, it was a
Yeah,
lot of
there's
good
plenty of
talent.
talent
Yeah.
left.
A lot of good talent. still left out on the board.
We talked about this a little bit after that night ended. I wouldn't have been surprised if Pittsburgh had taken another offensive lineman like Osiris Torrance, who was
Yeah.
the number one guard in the entire class, still available, sitting there at 32. So
Yeah.
We were talking about that in our group chat. I do like, of course, I want to look back for a second. I do like the move up to get Broderick Jones because he was also the last tackle left on the board that was graded as a
With a
first year
first round
starter.
grade. Yeah.
The last true first round grade. Joey Porter Jr. getting him the second round. Getting Keanu Benton out of Wisconsin was a little weary about that. Looks like it's going to be a good pickup though. Pittsburgh's a big fan of the Wisconsin boys. If you haven't figured
Oh,
out,
absolutely.
the Watt family rolling through there kind of gives you a little happy about Wisconsin.
as they should
And then
He
going
was out of the line on that one.
going through like the further the draft, there was
Darnell Washington.
Darnell Washington getting the tight end from Georgia. Of course, that's going to be a phenomenal. Nothing but upside on him. Can't be too. I mean, he can bust and it would be perfectly fine with it.
be. Yeah.
Like it won't burn us one bit. But the tape on that man just looks insane. I mean,
Yeah.
the highlight reel against Oregon is just unstoppable. The one-handed catch followed by immediately running down the sidelines and hurtling a kid. I mean, 6'7", 260. Yeah, 260, 270. I mean, that's just insane.
There's not a lot of people on the football field that
But,
can
yeah.
run that.
They should. If
It is
he
pure
can't catch the
athleticism.
ball anymore, just beef him up and put him on. Put him
I mean,
on the
260,
tackle.
270 on a 6'7" frame that's lean. That's pretty lean.
Yeah.
So
Get him
He's a lot of muscle.
get him into the NFL weight rooms with our training staff and all that, and just
280,
upside for him.
285.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really like this though because we can start to maybe run these like two tight end sets or I'm gonna say like hybrid sets. I think
Well, that's
I think
going to help
that
Najee
work.
a lot too.
But it's going to help Fryermuth also get out there.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to put more of a blocking scheme towards Darnell and Fryermuth getting out and actually being a little bit more pass catching tight end.
It gives you what they call the 21 package with the two tight ends, one running back, but it also gives you an opportunity to really also disguise your plays a little bit. If you line up initially with Fryermuth in the slot, get to motion him back in, and all of a sudden it's a heavy run play one side.
Yeah.
Like, it's making a defense's adjustment.
Motion him into where maybe he's just behind Darnell's hip all of a
Yeah, he
sudden.
sets
There's a
off-
power
sets off
power
side.
line to that left side or something
Yeah.
like that.
So I mean, as a fan now, you're looking. You basically just traded Chase Claypool for Joey Porter Jr. How are you feeling about that?
I think it's a good trade. I even sent in the group chat that I saw there was people on Twitter saying that we needed to send the Bears a thank you note after we drafted Joey Porter Jr. because that is the pick. That's the trade. I mean, that was the pick we got from Cleveland.
Yeah.
That's
Chase
the guy that you
Claypool.
wanted at 17, and you got him at 32.
Yeah, I mean, the
Yeah.
23rd overall ranked player sliding to 32.
Kid's gonna be phenomenal. I like
I like the
the
height.
physicality of it and then the long wing, like the wingspan. I didn't realize how long his wingspan is. I don't have the numbers basically in my head, But it's just compared to the field, it was just insane, especially for his height at 6'3". You wouldn't expect it to be as long
6'3",
as it is.
200. I mean, he's gonna be a
There was some worries, some about him being a little handsy. But
Only one career interception in 3 years as a starter, I think, is my concern. I don't know about handsy. I mean, the Big Ten plays physical.
But-
Pittsburgh has a physical style of defense, so I think that you know, I mean, that's just how they play. But I think again, the one
But
interception.
it's going to be great to
I
have
think-
him come into the field though, because he's going to have Patrick Peterson, long-term NFL vet.
Yeah.
You've got Minka Fitzpatrick, who's just a
Dominant
phenomenal
safety.
dominant safety. So he's going to be able to go under both those guys, and if he's doing something wrong, I'm sure both those guys will be like, "Hey, this is where you need to." I'm sure he's going to get the proper
But
leadership and veteran
with
mentorship.
the one interception in 3 years, like, do you?
Jason
I think I know
Bourne
where
had
he's gonna go with
3
this.
Yeah,
in his junior year.
Do you compare this to like? I want to see the stats.
Situation.
I want to see the stats on like passes defended.
Yeah. Do you just avoid throwing to his side of the field?
Yeah.
Because you're like, hell, it's either getting knocked away or it's getting picked. So guess what? I'm just not gonna go through that side of the field.
Yeah.
That's happened
And
to J.C.
so-
Horn in Carolina. He only had interceptions his junior year, which was his senior year, because nobody threw to his side of the field.
So again,
Yeah, once that name gets out there, like Adam
Yeah.
said, eventually you
They're not
stop
gonna
throwing
run
to it.
that
And
side
also
of
want
the
to see the stats on like just the
Pass deflections.
past the fence,
Yeah.
where like how often when they do throw it to him is he just actually maintaining that coverage and disrupting the play.
I mean, because I guess it would be the same thing. Would be like if Myles Garrett on the end of Cleveland, like as an offensive coordinator, as a playmaker. Hey, guess
Oh,
what?
yeah, it's,
I'm not going to run that way if I don't
Right.
have to.
Oh yeah,
Let's
like,
see that.
you might see a game where like let's say
I'm
like
gonna
Miles Garrett or T.J. Watt like they're like, oh well, you only had one tackle for loss that game. It was like, yeah, because they lined up left, so the offense just went right the entire game.
Yeah.
Like sometimes those stats are a little misleading
Yeah.
and skewed.
And so yeah, it's one of those situations. It was like, oh yeah, we saw how good he was in his say sophomore year or junior year.
Yeah.
And so about the Big Ten realized, guess what? For me to win a game, the best idea is not to throw to that side of the field.
Yeah.
Where he's lining up on my receiver. So I'll just put my number 3 guy over there.
Yeah, 17 pass deflections, 1 interception, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble.
So
But see, I'm perfectly fine with having a ton of pass deflection.
yeah.
Because he's still there
He's
breaking
there.
the play up.
I think
you know?
my most impressive thing was 51 freaking tackles and 21 as a corner. So
I mean, hell, that's going to help Minka out a lot because Minka was at one point in time the leading tackler on the defense, which you could not have your safety being the leading tackler on the defense. Okay,
so
Well, Troy Polamalu did it.
Well,
Troy Palmer
Troy's
was a
different.
ball hog.
That was a different-
that was a guy that
different
was
story.
timing the snap and leaping over the offensive line and getting sacks.
yeah, so 51 tackles would have put him basically around 7th or 8th on the team last year alone.
Which I mean,
And Mika Fitzpatrick was second with 96
I
tackles.
told yeah, as a safety, and leading was Miles Jack, a linebacker.
So
Which should be.
It should be, but I'm saying the safety is second behind a linebacker, almost tied with the linebacker. That's insane.
Yeah.
But I think the Steelers, did a great draft pick. Most of the grades I've seen been about a B minus. Just I think it's because they didn't really draft anybody flashy, but they got what they needed to
Exactly.
fill the holes, and I think that's going to be something you can't really grade. That these guys pan out. We get what we're looking for. I mean, hell, Nick Herbert. We signed his brother Nate during the free agency during this offseason. I think that's like the 4th or 5th set of brothers we now have on the team.
That's crazy.
So the Steelers is just awesome for that. I mean, hell, the Purdue corner falling all the way down there too. People said that was kind of shocking that he fell that far.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I'm real happy with Pittsburgh.
the other, I guess, feel good moment of the draft for me, Paris Campbell Jr. to the Cardinals.
Yeah,
Wait,
another father's.
yeah.
Yeah,
Father,
son.
son.
Yeah,
Combo.
both of the Paris Campbell Sr. and Joey Porter Sr. were both drafted in '99,
Yep.
and in 2023 their sons were drafted by the exact same teams.
Yep. So
Yeah.
feel good moments there
Yeah.
for those guys.
Yeah. How about your Panthers?
I mean, I thought obviously getting Bryce Young was where I thought they needed to go. I'm glad they went that way.
I did enjoy the moment where you were holding your breath thinking it was Anthony Richardson or Will Levis.
Well, it didn't help, but before the draft, they interviewed Bryce Young's family. They said they hadn't spoken to the Panthers in
Since
what, like,
April 11th.
yeah, in weeks.
Yeah.
They had already had it figured out, man.
Yeah.
That money was already.
Yeah, it was already in the account.
Yeah. They didn't need to talk no more.
Jonathan Mingo was kind of a surprising move. I mean, I understand he's a good wide receiver, but I thought they would have gone for like one of the Tennessee guys. I figured the Tennessee guys were rated higher, especially Jalen Hyatt.
Yeah.
But getting Zavala in the 4th round was a good play, and Jamie Robinson was down in the 5th round was a pretty good play.
Yeah.
Former
And he-
Gamecock /
Florida
Seminole.
State, yeah. Plus, I mean, he's actually already signed his rookie contract, so he's actually already signed a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
the
ready.
first one.
Hey, he was
ready to
like-
go.
I mean, when you get taken in the 5th round, you can't really be arguing too much on the contract.
He's like, yeah. I'm in the
so-
league. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they hit kind of what they needed to hit. They definitely needed a receiver. They definitely needed the quarterback. But I think Bryce Young going to Carolina with Frank Reich and everything they put in place around him, I wouldn't surprise me if Carolina wins the division next year.
Ooh. I like it.
Big step up.
I like
Big
it.
step
Well,
up. I'm gonna say it's a big step up for Carolina. It's not a big step for the division because that division's not the best right now.
That's what I'm saying. Is the division's horrible. They almost won it last year.
Yeah.
They lost because they lost to Tampa in the last game of the season. Tampa lost Brady. Their quarterback is
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield, who is a proven loser.
Hey, he was your quarterback for a while. Right?
He was our quarterback for like 3 games and they cut him.
He was your guy.
But Atlanta has Desmond Ritter, who's not proven to do anything, and Derek Carr is up in the air.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not arguing you. I'm not arguing you.
I'm not saying they're going to win the division. I'm saying they're in a prime position to win the division.
Yeah. I think the interesting part of the way Carolina has now phased this is they did use the offseason to bolster their offense.
Well, yeah, Miles Sanders, Adam Thielen, DJ Chark, Hayden Hurst.
Yeah. And now you've added Jonathan Mingo in there as well. I
With
think,
Terrence Marshall from 2 years ago.
you know, they beefed up the DJ Johnson from Oregon. Obviously adds a little bit of a pass rushing outside linebacker, hand in the defensive end at 260, and then Jamie Robinson in the secondary. I still think they're very weak at linebacker, and you need to see J.C. Horn be elite again. Obviously coming, still somewhat off an injury. So.
Yeah, I think he's going to be fine.
But I think I'd argue the only other team in your division that's going to give you challenges. I thought New Orleans actually drafted really well. They went and got Brian Brise, so they got a stud defensive tackle that can pass rush for them. Added more beef on the other side of the defensive line with Isaiah Folke from Notre Dame, who again gives them more run stopping ability. Kendre Miller is actually a real sleeper pick in the 3rd round for them to finally give them somebody that can take Alvin Kamara off the field for a breather, because that poor guy is about.
Well, they said that he reminded them a lot of Alvin Kamara, so it's like an Alvin Kamara 2.0.
Yeah, and if Alvin Kamara goes to jail for his stuff, who knows? Now you got a guy that can actually step in and play as well. But and then adding to their offensive line, this kid out of Old Dominion is a real sleeper. A lot of people like this guy at 6'6", 318. Obviously didn't play, as a super competitive football in the Power 5, but get a kid on the field, never know what happens.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, any last reaction without sneezing going on?
Yeah.
So.
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, hit us in the comments. Let us know who you think had the best and worst NFL drafts this year in 2023. And as always, we appreciate you. Like, comment, subscribe.